Hello, today I'm going to talk a little bit about free will. The question of free will in philosophy. On the question of free will, most books on philosophy will tell you that there are three main positions, or four if you count apathy, or agnosticism, not knowing, right? I guess if that counts as a position, then most books would, consider that there are four positions on the question. But other than not knowing or not caring, there's three that most books would acknowledge. As for myself, I only acknowledge two. And you can figure out which of the three positions you hold by answering one or two questions. The first question being, do you believe in free will? If you say no, then you're a hard determinist. If you say yes, then you go on to the next question. Do you believe that our choices are determined in the sense that we do not control them, but they are determined by factors external to us? In other words, do you believe our choices are determined? That's what determined means. If you say yes, so that you've said, yes, we believe in free will, but yes, our choices are also determined, then you're a compatibilist. If you say, yes, we have free will, but no, our choices are not determined, we have free will, in other words, means our choices are not determined, then you are a libertarian. Now, libertarianism in metaphysics, in other words, libertarianism on the question of free will, has absolutely no relationship with libertarianism, the political theory or political party, right? It's like Einstein's theory of relativity versus moral relativism, right? They have no connection. They're two completely different areas, right? Libertarianism in metaphysics means the belief that we are at liberty to make our own choices. In other words, we have free will or freedom of the will. And therefore, we are responsible for our own choices. I think that follows from libertarianism and any ethical system, right? Now, the three positions then are libertarianism, or in other words, free will advocacy or belief in free will, hard determinism or just determinism, and compatibilism. Now, compatibilism is the belief that the propositions that we have free will and the proposition that everything is determined are mutually compatible. You can believe in both. I think that compatibilism is irrational, or in other words, logically incoherent, for the reasons stated by Immanuel Kant in his Critique of Pure Reason. I'm going to include a link to the relevant passage in the description of this video. I might break down Immanuel Kant's reasons for that in another video, but as far as I'm concerned, the real debate is between determinism and libertarian free will, and there are no other positions as far as I'm concerned. I don't give compatibilism the benefit of the doubt, in other words. I don't give them the time of day. There's just two positions as far as I'm concerned, libertarianism and determinism. And so we might explore what these sorts of things mean. Determinism would mean that somewhere way back in the remote past there is a first cause or set of causes we can regard as being what started everything, It might be the Big Bang, whatever it is that started everything going, started a cause-effect chain, and that all of the events in the entire universe are within that cause-effect chain with no breaks. Everything which happens was determined by the initial cause. That's determinism. In the deterministic, materialistic, naturalistic model of the universe, there is no room for free will or for supernaturalism or for anything that adds any new causes or breaks the cause-effect chain, which is not understandable in principle in terms of the total system, right? There is just one cause-effect chain. Everything has a cause, with the sole exception being whatever the first cause was. The start of causation itself, if it could be said to have, causation. And that means everything you do in the future also, is within this, right? Everything you do in the future is caused by what you're doing now, which is caused by everything that happened in the past. That's determinism. Now, against determinism, libertarians, metaphysical libertarians, not political libertarians, I'm not talking about Ron Paul and company, I'm talking about people who believe in free will. Libertarians say that human beings have an ability, a capability to defy causation. That in human decision-making, new causes are introduced into the universe which did not exist before, which are not caused by anything previous to them, right? That there is a new thing in the universe which did not exist before at all every time a human being makes at least a conscious decision. Okay? In other words, libertarians believe that human beings, individual human beings, actually make conscious decisions, right? Because if your decision was caused by something else, then it really wasn't your decision. It was really the decision of whatever caused your decision. Now, the kind of causation for your decision which libertarianism in metaphysics excludes is a determining cause, right? Libertarianism does not deny the existence of influences upon your decision, right? Influences upon your decision certainly do exist, okay? What libertarianism denies is the determining power of influences, okay? Influences influence you, they don't decide for you, right? Because libertarianism would assert you have the power to say no to influences. When you've got a strong influence and a weak influence, you can decide to choose the weak influence over the strong influence. We do not always follow our strongest inclinations or predispositions. Sometimes we choose to defy causation. That is libertarianism in a nutshell. Now, I don't really see how on purely metaphysical, a priori, epistemological type, those kinds of grounds, we could really settle the question of who is right between the libertarian and the determinist, because both of them are arguing about things which we cannot, scientifically speaking, either confirm or deny, and which form the basis of how we approach many of the most important questions in metaphysics and epistemology. But we can make a difference in this metaphysical question on ethical grounds. And by that I mean that I would argue that from a premise of moral realism, Understand that moral realism is my premise. It is not a conclusion of any other argument. It is a first principle, right? I do not argue for moral realism. I assume it. From the premise of moral realism, I would argue that the objectively real rightness and wrongness of human decisions has to, necessarily involve the assumption that human decisions are human decisions. We could not command, praise, or blame any action unless that action was based on a real decision, right? And the only way you can have real decisions made by human individuals is libertarianism. Therefore, I believe that any system of ethics which involves praise and or blame under any sort of concept of justice demands a basically libertarian metaphysics. And that means the fact that we, believe in right and wrong logically necessitates that we also believe in free will for the sake of internal consistency. Okay? So this isn't the kind of argument for free will that most philosophers would like. But it is a good one, I think. Because I rank ethics as the most important area in philosophy. I look at the other fields of philosophy, in most cases, as subservient to ethics. So, I only really delve into the other branches of philosophy, for the most part, simply in order to be able to talk about ethics. Now, this isn't what I'd call a proof that free will is objectively real, because I don't think you can have such a proof. I don't think you can prove either libertarianism or determinism from any sort of empirical scientific premises. I think you can prove, in a sense, free will from ethical premises, but not from these other kinds of premises. So I don't expect this sort of argument to convince very many people. But I'm not worried about that, because I only need it to be logically valid for my philosophical system to work. So in a way, it's a kind of pragmatic sort of argument for free will. Okay, I'm going to delve into the critique that Immanuel Kant makes of compatibilism, hopefully in a future video. Thanks very much.